What's a sign that someone has quietly given up but no one around them seems to notice? Story 1. I knew a guy at work who eliminated himself. He was the friendliest person there. He laughed with everyone, greeted everyone enthusiastically, and he always had an uplifting or kind thing to say when someone else was down. He worked hard. Everyone liked this guy. Then one day he just stopped coming in. His brother told us he had taken a whole bottle of opiates and was gone. If they don't want you to know, you won't. Answer. This comment hits a bit hard. My condolences. Same thing happened to me. Coworker was always laughing and making jokes. Everyone always wanted to be around him and talk to him. Worked hard and really good at his job. Came to work one day and heard screaming from downstairs while I was up in the mezzanine restocking shelves. Walked down to find all my coworkers crying, and my boss tells me that AG had eliminated himself the night before, left behind his wife and 2 young daughters. Nobody had any idea how bad it was for him. Still makes me jaded of really happy people I come across in life. Story 2. When someone stops reacting, when they no longer argue, defend themselves, or explain their feelings, they become quietly detached, going through the motions with a forced smile or empty calm. Their tone is flat, their eyes look distant, and even when hurt or overwhelmed, they say, "I'm fine." It's not peace, it's resignation. And sadly, many people interpret it as strength or stability, when it's actually a silent surrender. Answer. I cried myself out last night thinking the same. I'm having regular fight with my wife because she thinks I'm getting distant with her, but actually am so distant with myself that I don't even know who I am, what I am doing, or do I even have any emotions. Things that are supposed to make me happy, sad, angry, just does nothing. It's all meh. It's even frustrating that it's hard to explain to people because they think you have the best life in the world with so much expectations, but actually you're so broken from the inside that you detach from the reality and just give up. I started crying. Again, writing this, and I wish there were more people who can understand this. Story 3. Casually morbid jokes, but way out of the realm of what they normally say. Most everyone else covered the basics, but I've noticed that people who've become depressed or worse will have an almost Freudian slip of the mind. Sort of like the tipsy words are sober thoughts thing. Even if they have naturally dark humor, they're likely to be much more casual about how they may want to off themselves or just want everything to end. It feels less like a joke over time, if that makes sense. Story 4. Oh, this one is rough, but I've seen it happen. Usually it's in the daily routines. Someone you know that's well put together seems more and more not to care about their appearance. It's usually not over a long period. Also, something they've been really into, like gardening, etc., and now are just apathetic about it. Sorry, this one is really hard for me. I've seen it happen to close friends, and the end results are usually the end. If you notice someone close to you going through this, get them help. Answer. What if they don't want help, though? Today is an extremely hard day, so I apologize for venting. My BF of 10 wars has very rapid mood swings, and it's either very up or very down. He does not have any other symptoms of BPD aside from that. I say this because that's what everyone assumes right off the bat. He doesn't do anything to negatively impact our family, aside from the roller coaster of emotions. For 10 years, I've tried to hold his head above water, despite my own mental health struggles. I've gone to counseling, taken meds, switched careers, abandoned the toxic people in my life, etc. His only form of helping himself is through working out, which is great, but it's not the end-all be-all. He told me today, well, every time, but today was the latest, that he knows he needs help but will refuse it. It's gotten to the point where I've called 911, begged him for help, even went so low as to threaten our relationship. everything I can think of. He sent me a ton of TikToks today of fathers that have eliminate themselves, some of people crying, saying that no one is there for them, people saying to check on your loved ones before it's too late, etc. He made a comment about how he has no one, and that I don't care about him because I stopped trying to seek help. It's beyond frustrating and eliminate my mental health. He and his family have told me that if I leave him now because of this, and if he does something, it's my fault essentially for abandoning him at his lowest. In my eyes, I feel like I've tried everything, but also that I should be doing more. I'm so sorry for this vent session. I saw this at the exact wrong time. Story 5. Honestly, the scariest part can be that there are no signs. Burnout and depression can look so different person to person. But for some, it can look like someone who is usually very aware of how their actions affect or may affect those around them, and constantly worry about what others think, suddenly having a very nonchalant and numb outlook on things. Someone who usually worries constantly about the future, suddenly having a very "it is what it is" attitude that may seem like they have no plans for the future anymore, as they no longer plan to have a future. Morbid, I know, but it's why we talk about these things. The best thing thought is to not wait until there is a sign. Be proactive, not reactive. Don't be there for someone just because you're noticing a change in attitude, behavior, or emotion. Instead, just be there. Period. Story 6. They're not interested in buying anything but bare necessities. Hear me out. People who have given up feel no need to get new things. What they have is sufficient. New clothes are pointless. What they have works. New hobbies are pointless. Current hobbies aren't worth it, so what you have is more than you need anyway. It's all stuff that someone will have to deal with at some point. You can give up and not be tragic end. So you need basics. Food, hygiene products. You don't want to inconvenience the world by being an attention whore and drawing focus to the fact that you have issues. Giving up means you don't look for help, don't expect it, you just keep going as you were. Answer: this is where I am. I can't live for myself, I'm just going through the motions. I've got a dog and I try to do the most for her, but often I feel like I could do more. But besides my husky, I've got literally nothing, and, as you say, I do not wish for or want anything that I would be able to get. But it did help me when I realized I don't have to care about the stuff that others have so much trouble with. I don't have a house, don't care building career, and don't need to save for old age. I won't leave loose end for anyone should something happen to me. I have plan that would absolutely ruin whole rest of life for anyone else, but I won't have to be around for the consequences, so I'm kinda looking forward to it. Story 7. If someone has been struggling for a long time and all of a sudden one day they seem carefree and uncharacteristically optimistic, that is a very big red flag that that person has possibly made the decision and/or is planning self-harm. Story 8. As a friend or relative, please keep a close eye on the person. Sometimes they suddenly are having a great day, happy, energetic. This could be a sign they have made a major decision about going forward with their life. Happy with the decision. Story 9. They start pulling back from things they used to care about. Not in a dramatic way, no big announcements or breakdowns, just quiet, disappearing acts. When you ask how they are, and you'll get the classic, "I'm fine," with a smile that doesn't quite reach their eyes. Story 10. Lack of self-care, or conversely, noticing that they seem to get very emotional over others without caring about themselves. Puffy face, unwashed, smell bad, etc. They will spend all their time worrying about others if you talk to them, even though they obviously do not care about their own well-being. I'd throw myself in front of an oncoming car to help a stranger or even their dog. But me? LOL IDC. I work pretty hard at hiding my symptoms. I wear long sleeves and a bright red orange hat to hide the fact that I'm covered in scratches from anxiety picking. But I will never miss an appointment. When I make a promise to help someone, having someone else to care for is much, much more important to me than whether or not I am okay. Story 11. When they start answering, I'm tired to everything, even stuff that has nothing to do with sleep. Like, how was your weekend? Tired. Did you eat yet? Tired. It's like their soul is buffering constantly, and nobody notices the loading wheel. Story 12. All these replies I just now realized are a scary, accurate picture of myself. It's frightening how no one notices, and hardly even do I. Deep down, I know how much I am suffering. Silent losses, sobbing alone, always alone. Today I am just human and can't really handle it. Story 13. For me, it was isolating. I'm a big family person and I was avoiding family. I stopped doing things I enjoyed. I stayed in bed a lot more, slept a lot more, didn't respond to texts, didn't even want to be around my SO. Thinking on it now, I guess I'm falling into the same habits again. I check in on my brother, but that's about it. I've got plans this weekend that I'm literally trying to figure out how to avoid. I've cried a lot more, but mainly when no one is around to see. I ignore messages, I don't smile as often, I don't do things I enjoy. I'm on a short fuse. I mean my dog, who's literally my best friend, is even getting on my nerves, and all she's trying to do is make me feel better, and I know it. I don't know. Good luck to you guys. I hope you all feel better. And if you're worried about someone, don't forget to reach out to them. Sometimes the people who wear the brightest smiles are the ones in the darkest places. Answer. I hope you don't skip your weekend plans. At least for me, forcing myself to be social when I really don't feel like it is often the best medicine. I play soccer every week, and there's book clubs, walking clubs, etc. if contact sports aren't your thing. Having a regular appointment with friends has gone a really long way for me regarding mental health. Of course, sometimes things get too dark to even do that. But I have found that once you have the energy to start a commitment like that, it's a good way to maintain a certain baseline and avoid withdrawing too much into yourself. I hope this doesn't come off as too flippant. I know it's hard, and I don't want to come off like I'm saying, just don't be depressed, duh, because I am well aware it's not that simple. I don't know. I'm not in a super great place right now either. But a lot of times the only way out is through, and I really think that sometimes you just have to make yourself do stuff. And you might need therapy medication to get to the point where you can make yourself do stuff. I definitely did. You got this. Story 14. Who's around to notice I don't eat all day? Husband works and son has school and sports. Who is going to know I didn't go to the doctor for 10-ish years? Didn't have problems, just didn't care to get checkups. Fake it to make it is a life motto. I have a successful job I can cling to, but it gets overwhelming and exhausting on top of not really taking care of myself. I feel like I've given up so many big and little sacrifices that you just need to hold on to something. As many threads have alluded to, the saddest people sometimes smile the biggest because they have to. They make light of situations first because that is how we cope. Answer. Being a parent is hard, especially when you feel like you're lost in it and don't have anything of your own. I've been there, going through the motions to support everyone else's lives. I reached a point when I didn't recognize myself anymore and didn't have anything that I actually felt was my success. People want to tell you that raising a child and holding down the fort is a success you should be proud of. But I didn't feel that. I just felt like everyone else's cheerleader while I was on the sidelines, a shell of who I had been and who I had wanted to be. It took a long time and a lot of inner anguish to speak up and tell my partner I was drowning, even while I was keeping up appearances. I needed a partner to support me the same way I supported everyone else, because I was running on empty and weighing when would be the right time to eliminate myself and not have that negatively impact my kids and partner. I needed us to be a team. My partner isn't uncaring or unsupportive. He just didn't realize how much of the mental weight I was carrying by putting everyone else first, because that's what I had always done due to the demands of his job. I know it's hard, especially if you're like me and would rather walk across broken glass than tell someone you need help. But speak up. Reach out. Your husband and your son would rather have a fulfilled mom and partner, and I'd be willing to bet they will find satisfaction in knowing they are able to support you as much as you support them. If anything, you can teach your son how to be a good partner when he finds that person. This turned out longer than I intended, but I heard myself in your words. You deserve the care of others. Story 15. When they start being slightly nicer and become quiet, they start giving their things away. Nice stuff. You don't want it because they are nice things and they are theirs, not yours. Besides, you hang out, made a life for yourselves. Then they stop calling, so you call them more often. They stop going out with you. You can't find them as easily. When you do, it is a little awkward. They talk about the old times, even if it was just a year or so ago, when things were great. Here and there, you start losing contact with them for a week or so. Then it's a month. You start calling around to other friends, and you are a little worried. Things seem okay, so you worry less. They are just being weird. Besides, you are like brothers. Everything is always aces in the end. Sadly, you are young, invincible. You don't know how the world works or what happens when you aren't involved. Then a few more months pass. You get a phone call. Your friend, one of the best ones you ever had, is gone. You didn't even realize. Lots of confusion. The guilt is heavy. You will never be the same person again. Worse yet, you miss your friend, like every minute before of every day since. He is gone. Love your friends. Call them if they don't call you. Let them know you think about them. It's okay to hug another dude. Don't lose one of your best friends like I did. Don't give up. Life is beautiful. Story 16. Becoming reluctantly agreeable to pretty much everything. For a while, I had basically given up caring about anything, and I'd just accept whatever everyone said, whether I liked it or not. I essentially stopped having likes and dislikes. We're going to see a middle school play. Okay. Can I have your favorite food? Sure. Let me borrow your car. Here's the keys. This can also be seen when someone becomes suddenly very giving, especially with items that hold special personal value. Someone giving away their prized possessions is a huge sign that they're done. Story 17. It's also dependent on the person. When I did it, I still maintained my appearance and showed up where I was supposed to be. But anything fun, I just always made some excuse and bailed. Looking back, I was probably doing a mix of prepping my friends for me not being around and also pursuing a self-pity. If they really cared, they'd insist I come along pattern, while using that to help feed a negative spiral. Very immature emotional response from me. I eventually figured out that my problem was internal and started getting help. But that sign isn't going to match others. Bottom line, if you think someone is going through it, if you care, let them know that you're there. Story 18. Lost a loved one to tragic end. This is a road I know all too well, unfortunately. They had physical and mental working against them. There's a lot, but to answer this question specifically, they become reclusive, checked out, not emotionally or physically available. We saw this often when extended family came around. He was pretty much non-existent. He also became a shell of himself. We had glimpses of him being him, but the times became few and far between. We were well aware of his struggles, though. He was vocal about it while also actively seeking help, until one day, just a day like any other day, he decided he had enough. Story 19. It's really hard to notice the signs. I had a friend who always seemed happy, cracking jokes, smiling, acting like everything was fine every time we were together. But behind that smile, he was hiding so much. We didn't find out until it was too late that he had a notebook filled with all his sadness, regrets, and pain. It's so important to ask how our loved ones are really doing once in a while. Story 20. As someone currently doing this, it's a mix of just not caring about stuff. Got chores to do. Not if I don't view them as such. Boom, no longer chores. I eat, go to work, come home, eat, then sleep. Anything that I did for entertainment is only done if it's a scheduled thing, and to me, I'm only going because they're there. Story 21. Walking with head down, no eye contact, isolating and becoming the invisible man aren't necessarily signs of giving up on life. They could be burnout, social anxiety, or just being tired. It's really hard to know what's going on with a person because people are really good at masking and hiding their emotions if they want to, unless you live with them or know their daily routines. There are no set signs, and it depends on person to person. Check up on people you care about from time to time, and if you think they're not doing well, be the ray of sunshine when you meet them. Sit with them, with their sadness, and share what you're going through too. No one's alone in feeling low. Edit. Getting fat is also not a sign of giving up on life. Story 22. The one friend who used to express emotions suddenly is sounding positive all the time. This scares me the most as, instead of being, they start performing. This is the biggest indicator, and it's hard as we can't ask, how come you are so chirpy all of a sudden? Story 23. They stop talking about the future, and this is where you can usually see if you're really paying attention that even if they smile, their eyes look lifeless. They stop showing opinions or preferences, become relatively unreactive, or downplay them to the things that bring others or even once themselves, and their voices can become flat, even when they're faking happy. You can tell through their voice something's going on. People don't seem to notice this too often, especially in adulthood, because adult life becomes busy and hectic. They start taking care of themselves less, outfits are less them, and more whatever works or whatever's clean. They start bathing less or not brushing their teeth. House becomes messy, but not just the lived-in messy, or will always be the bare minimum clean. This often goes unnoticed if they don't have anyone to check in on them. Their conversations are less connected and more like replies. But the biggest one, I'd say, is their lack of reaction. Story 24. Something I noticed in myself is that I used to post a pic of my dog, some nature or some activity to Instagram pretty often, a few times a week. It was something I did for fun, to document my dog's life and to share what we were up to with friends and family. When I got depressed, I posted less and less frequently until I wasn't posting at all. I never stopped doom scrolling or using my phone. I just became too sad to post and thought, who cares anyway? Story 25. After spending a decade with a major depressive incident, I have the testimonies of family and friends about how they realized something's wrong, aside from the fact that I spent those years leaving the house only for groceries. Laughing too loudly, almost hysterically, even when the situation wasn't that funny. subconsciously trying to convince myself and everyone else that all is well. No talk about the future. It didn't exist in my mind. Becoming livid when someone mentioned that I might need help, denial, gaining a ton of weight, seeking comfort in food, drinking too much. Self-medicating, inability to be productive or creative, relates to future and joy, so nope. Complete absence of hobbies, even past dear ones, bad hygiene, because what's the point? Rushing to make other people's problems mine. My own were impossible to even look at. Not interested in buying anything, because what's the point again? Sleeping too much indoor, spending every waking hour in virtual environments like MMOs, etc. Reality escape. In general, lots of avoiding to take care of oneself and attempts to convince the world and oneself that nothing's wrong. A lot of these, of course, relate to deep depression as well, which is often tightly tied to utter resignation. Edit. I did eventually seek help, had therapy, and I live again. Story 26. Most of the time, you'll never know. I've tried to be vocal before, but at the end of the day, you lose people. But one sign is that person will be really quiet, and most of the time, no one notices. Only saying from experience used to be able to talk up a storm to random people. Now, there's no energy. Story 27. A sign is when someone slowly stops reaching out, not in anger, just silence. They still do what's expected, but there's no spark. They say they're fine, but it feels hollow. It's like they're fading in plain sight, and no one notices because they're still functioning. Story 28. They become more agreeable and give off an affable vibe. They aren't going to disagree with the general consensus because it doesn't matter. They won't offer input unless it's required, and even then they will either keep it vague or neutral if there is no clear direction the group wishes to go. They stop piping up when the group makes plans, and if someone remembers to invite them, they have several excuses ready to go. If their order is wrong, they just move on and don't mention it. If something breaks that is not absolutely necessary to their survival, they let it stay broken. Eating becomes either a chore or a comfort. Personal hygiene becomes more difficult to be motivated to continue and may noticeably decline. Story 29. This was true in my case. Have openly talked about my failed tragic end attempts and constant battle with depression before. Reaching the point to where you no longer react to anything negative anymore. You just quietly accept it and move on. Story 30. As someone who's going through that now, after losing the man I loved to tragic end, I can tell you that I no longer worry about things. Anything could happen, and it just doesn't stack up to the loss of him. I've also lost the ability to fear anything, because again, it doesn't compare to his loss. I've also become very risky. I seek out people and situations that are unsafe because I no longer care about consequences. I've also got a tooth infection I'm not going to the dentist for because part of me is hoping it'll spread and end my life. I used to confide in my friends when I was struggling mentally, but I no longer do. So the biggest sign, I think, is someone who stops sharing their inner world, where they used to be expressive and open. But I'm always smiling and joking around, and I ask the people around me how they're doing. And that's my main focus in conversation. I avoid talking about myself completely.